right, we are officially back on the 54 Corvette project since we got some parts in that we were waiting, I don't know, a couple months on. So I kind of got the chassis cleaned up a little bit. So right now what I'm doing is getting the rear end back in it. So got the new bushings all back here in the shackles. So I'm bolting the front of the leafs up now, getting those all bolted in place. Then I'll be ready to do the other side as well. And I just handmade some of these gaskets for the leaf springs in the bottom of the rear end, so that'll just lay over like that and go right over the nib of the spring, and then give it a little cushion because I never had any on these from the factory, so that'll make it a little bit quieter since he actually drives his cars, so this thing won't just sit. Then after that, we're moving on up here to the front end, which we got new bushings up in these A-arms, so those are good. And this side is good as well. Up on top, got the spindle built. Did new link pin, or king pins in this, sorry. And then I think we need some bushings in this lower portion of the A-arm for this side. And then we'll be able to connect these back together. And then same on this passenger side here as well. And we already got this spindle built, a little dusty from sitting, so I gotta clean it back up. And then engine paint will be coming here pretty soon. Engine's all in primer and ready for paint. And then I'll probably film some more here when I get some stuff done on this rear end. All right, now that I got the leaves in, I got the rear end set down on the leaves where they go. So I got my little rubber bushings in there. Got this side in as well. So now what I will be working on are the original leaf spring straps. So these guys wrap around the rear end and then come up to the top, and it actually keeps the rear end from like hyper extending when you hit big bumps and stuff, since these are supposed to be like a performance road oriented car. So hopefully get these bad boys in, and we'll go from there. All right, now that we got the rear end set in here, got the U-bolts in, shock bracket all put on both sides. So now we can move on to the leaf spring, or the rear end straps that I mentioned earlier. There's all the plates and the hammer rivets. And then as you can see right in here, here's the loops. They go around. And as I mentioned, it actually goes around the rear end, comes up to the top here, loops through like so. And then you put those plates on each side and rivet them through, and then bring this one around the other side and do the same thing. And I just got to get some weight on the chassis so I can get the rear end up high enough, and we'll be able to get these bad boys on there. All right, we got the rear end back under it. Got the new straps in. So it's all in. Got those all put through. Got the rear end bolted back up. And then we just got to change this. As you can see, it's leaking. Got to change this pinion seal, and that'll be good to go. Everything's pretty dusty right now because it's been sitting, but we'll get it all cleaned up. And also made a little bit of headway on the front of it. Got this all together. Nothing's tight right now, but got the spindle on it, and then got the spring ready to go. And we'll get that back in there, and then the front end will be complete after that, and start making this thing a roller again. And the body itself is getting pretty close. We're on the 80 grit stage right now, which it's still under plastic. But we're getting there. Hopefully have some more updates on it soon. Hey, if you guys haven't, go back and watch all of our videos from the start. I think you can like, subscribe, whatever you feel like doing. All right, got a pretty cool day here. He's about ready to wash the Firebird. He just got done wet sanding and buffing it, and we'll probably show it after he's done washing it and coating it and everything, but it turned out pretty awesome. A little dusty and dirty right now. So we'll show that when he's all finished up. And then right now I'm working on this 69 Nova. Got some pretty small tubs in there. Pretty neat car. Really slick black paint job, so someone definitely did that portion right. But we got it in here today. We got an issue with the rear air shocks, and as you can tell, sitting pretty, I mean, looks good, but sitting pretty drop, and front end's pretty high. Got a pretty hardcore reverse rate, so I'm gonna get it up on the lift and hopefully see what the heck's going on with these air shocks, see if they're just straight up bad, won't hold air, or if something's wrong with the routing of the air lines. So get back when we figure something out. All right, guys, got this thing up on the lift and got some stands under the rear end. And we come over, and these fittings were both loose for the air shocks. And we tightened those up. Well, actually, we loosened them up first, blew air through them, be sure they were feeding air to the shocks, which they were clear, tightened them back up, lowered the car back down, and put air in them, and nothing was happening. So it looks like we got a bad set of air shocks, which I guess they're kind of old. So I'm gonna work on getting these boys out and doing a replacement. Not sure if we're gonna go back with air shocks or regular shocks, so we'll find out soon. All right, guys, got the air shocks out. So now, up under here, got our line there and our line here. So we will be ready to take this part number on the actual shocks and get that sent in so we can get some air shocks ordered. And also, I forgot to mention that, yes, this is a Yenko clone, but what's really neat about it is it was built by Don Yenko's wife at whatever shop she is at, and it's like one of 3 or something like that. So it's pretty neat. So I forgot to mention that in the little walk around at the beginning. So it's actually pretty cool. Okay, little update on where we're at today. The 69 Nova that I'm taking apart for the rear shocks, they got to be shipped in. So they'll be here sometime tomorrow. So that'll get put back at some point. Depending on when I get this video out, you might see it back down on the ground in this video. You might not. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's where that's at. It's ready to go back together. This we're still holding off on. And as for the Corvette chassis, I don't mind it being pretty filthy. It needs to be cleaned up, but got the front end all built. So it is ready to be a roller again. And that's getting really close. So going to be ordering probably the fuel lines and brake lines and things like that here pretty soon to get all that ran, and then the engine paint, get it painted, and rebuild the factory power glide. Nova's wiring is getting finished up. It's looking pretty good with the full new harness in it. Nothing's loomed yet or fully in place. It's just all ran and hooked up because he's got to test everything. And he's wiring up the cluster right now on the interior. Engine stuff is all ran and done, just needs to be loomed, as you can see back there. And the Firebird, which I think I mentioned in the last clip maybe, Graydon got it all washed and ceramic coated, and it looks awesome. So do a little walk around video of it real quick. So I did a full wet sand and buff. We sprayed this car a little over a year ago, and not the kind of job we normally do here. We normally always do full restos, strip them all the way down to bare steel. And this one was a little different, but it turned out great. The clear coat just really shrunk and cured up over the summer, you know, last year of it being out in the heat. So the wet sand and buff really helped this thing out. Looks killer, especially all ceramic coated. Turned out awesome. And video doesn't really do it much justice. But it does look really good. Wonderful driver. He gets out and enjoys this car quite a bit. But yeah, it looks awesome. Really good reflection. You can see a lot of the flake. So turned out awesome. He just got the interior done as well. That looks really good. So yeah, and that's where we're at up to today. So this one will be leaving once we finish up some front suspension stuff on it. So like I said, it may be in this video or it may not be. I may continue another one with finishing this and the Nova up, so we'll see.
Sometime before it's able to remove social distancing requirements in the retail shops that the restaurant is known for. And the ones that on the court of the fashion community and in the meantime, Cracker Barrel is preparing to roll out a digital shop for both food and merchandise. And it also plans to open another 15 requested lunch when my sister changed. Street with the company going forward. Cracker Barrel will also transition to a smaller menu than
Got some more done on the Corvette chassis today. Got the front end all buttoned up. Got shocks in there. Got the backing plates on. Tie rod in, steering arms for the back, spacers, all the bolts cleaned up. And I don't have the lower stabilizer links attached yet just because I don't have any weight on anything. But all new grease certs and every single new fitting, so this thing's about ready to go. Also got rear shocks on as well, so that's all new. And then this is the Model A stuff down here, and this is kind of on hold because the shocks that we got sent weren't the right ones. Of course, they weren't clocked the right way, and believe it or not, you can't spin those air shocks. So we'll be getting back on that hopefully tomorrow if they come in. And then the Nova is about done, well, the other Nova is about done with wiring. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have another video out with a couple of the things getting shuffled around, getting to see some of the cars leave. So yeah, thanks for checking in with us. And if you think about it, give us a subscribe and check us out on Instagram at Vintage Hot Rods.